Hello everybody, we're here today to answer the question, what is the best turbo for my LS engine? We've got 4 True North turbos ranging from 76 to 88 millimeters, and we'll be testing them back to back to back to back. Each turbo features a 96 millimeter turbine wheel and a 132 T6 exhaust housing. Our test vehicle is my personal SN95 with a basic 5.3 LS based engine, upgraded with a piston rod combo, TFS 220 fastest cast heads, and a BTR Stage 3 turbo camshaft. And the setup is completed with a Power Sucker Turbo 400 transmission, and the test is very simple. We'll compare all 4 turbos at similar boost levels and then conduct a max effort dyno run for each turbo. We'll begin with the smallest turbo, the True North Turbo 76mm. The wastegates are set up with 5-pound springs, and we're using CO2 controlled boost, measuring dome pressure. It's important to keep in mind back pressure throughout these tests. Back pressure is the pressure between the engine and the turbine wheel, and it, along with the manifold pressure on the bottom side of the wastegate, works against the wastegate spring and the added dome pressure. To put it simply, as back pressure increases, more dome pressure is needed to achieve higher boost. With that being said, we'll start our first test at 5 pounds of pressure on the dome. And as you can see, it netted us around 600 horsepower, 640 foot-pounds of torque, right around 12 pounds of boost. Next up, 17 pounds of dome pressure. So right around 800 wheel horsepower and 800 foot-pounds of torque on just shy of 20 pounds of boost. We are on C16, so we will be continuing with 27 pounds on the dome, netting us just shy of 900 horsepower on 23 pounds of boost, falling to 21 pounds, and 45 psi on the dome, giving us 938 horsepower, right around 24 pounds of boost. And with back pressure on the rise, we gave the 76mm one final run on 50 pounds of dome pressure, giving us a final result of 966 horsepower and 912 foot-pounds of torque. However, we're just getting started. Time to bolt on that True North Turbo 80mm. It's worth mentioning that Neil Richards at Horsepower Solutions is one of the greatest tuners we have in Canada. And this hub dyno is by far the best tool we have for the job, as there's no tire slip variable with the hub dyno. Now to run the 80mm on similar boost levels as the 76. And with 5 psi in the dome, giving us 647 horsepower, quickly followed by 800 horsepower at 12 psi in the dome, we get our first good comparison at 17 psi in the dome, with the 76mm making 811 horsepower on just under 20 pounds of boost. The 80mm picked up 80 horsepower, right around 20 pounds of boost, following it up with a 60 horsepower gain on 27 pounds of dome pressure, and finally at 50 pounds of dome pressure, we get our first 4-digit power number, 1001 horsepower, right around 25 pounds of boost. With one more max effort run at 60 psi in the dome, we finish the 80mm off at 1045 horsepower and just under 1000 foot-pounds of torque. Now the 76 and the 80mm were designed around being weekend warrior street car turbos, with no cheater compressor wheels for the lack of better term. And for the passionate turbo enthusiasts, it's worth noting that the 76mm turbo has an extruder size of 107mm, while the 80mm version features a slightly larger extruder size of 113mm. As dedicated car enthusiasts at True North Turbos, we believe in transparency and honesty when it comes to our products. Next up, we bolt on the TNT 485, and we start our testing again on 5 pounds of dome pressure. .712 horsepower, 699 foot-pounds of torque. The dyno graph looks a little bit weird. but we did have a little wave in the boost, as you can see on the boost graph. We did sort this out on the next pull, which is 17 psi on the dome. With just over 900 horsepower on 20 pounds of boost, we can stack our results against the 76mm and the 80mm. Following up our 910 horsepower run on 20 pounds with a 976 horsepower run on 23 pounds. And with all the mid-range testing done, we decided to do one max effort pull to see what this 85mm can do. At the end, I'll compare all the turbos at all the boost levels, but for now, here's the leaderboard with the max effort pulls. Next up, everybody's favorite, the 88mm. This is actually the turbo that belongs on this car, and we went 134 mile an hour in the 8 on 28 pounds of boost at 3,300 pounds with this setup. The 88 results are very similar to the 85mm turbo at lower boosts and lower drive pressures. At 12 pounds of boost, we made 642 horsepower. At 20 pounds, we made 857 horsepower. And at 22 pounds, we made 957 horsepower. Let's crank it up, 50 pounds on the dome. (1,221 horsepower and 1,115 torque on 32 pounds of boost. Looking at the back pressure data, we decided that the 88 has a little bit more in it, so we put 65 pounds on the dome. Which resulted in 1,286 horsepower and 1,193 foot-pounds of torque at 34.5 pounds of boost. Coincidentally, is where we started to get a little bit of pressure into the cooling system. Now, 1,286 wheel horsepower through a turbo 400 transmission is amazing of an S400 frame turbo, especially on a 96mm turbine wheel. I'm positive that using our True North Turbo 88mm paired with a 103mm turbine wheel would have netted us more horsepower. However, my little stock crank 5.3, not happy already. I'm pretty sure we wiggled the heads a little bit and got a little bit of combustion into the cooling. That's something I'll have to figure out before next season. Now, every combination is going to want something a little bit different depending on your horsepower goals. So if you have any questions about today's video or you're looking to find the proper size turbo for your setup, make sure to reach out to us at True North Turbos. I'll leave our email down below along with our Facebook and Instagram pages, and you can find everything you need there. Thanks for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys at the racetrack.